every single one of us have the same fucking problems, whether you're an executive or not.
We do. And I think, you'd be surprised at the amount of very successful people who lose touch with source and lose touch with those non-negotiables things, which is why I do that as a practice. With every single one of my clients, that's one of the starting points. Right, we're going to write down 5 things now that make you really happy that you're going to do every day as a ritual.
Triggers, calmers, routine. We did that.
yeah, we did. And actually, it was really interesting because the first thing that I asked you when you came back for your second session was, how are you getting on with this and what's the impact it's had on you? You're like, yeah, amazing. Really. And it's not, going to Selfridges and buying a load of pairs of really expensive shoes. That's not what it's about. It's about, yours was going to bed at 9:30, reading your book, spending time with your children, getting up and having time to yourself in the morning before your children get up so that you're not in a rush. You've got time to do your makeup. Really simple, basic things. But when you reconnect people with one, being really clear on what's important to them and honouring it, they start to then subconsciously be really clear on, actually, that's not making me happy. I'm not going to do that. It's a self-selection process. That's why I start it, because it has a massive chain reaction on everything else. You start to be consciously making decisions every day about, do I want to go out for dinner with them? Have I got time for this? Am I going to get anything out of that meeting? No, I'm not going. And it's this kind of ripple effect. And I think, boundaries are really important. You see time and time again. It's really interesting, actually. The most successful people that you work with are also the hardest on themselves. They're also the most restless, because where do they plug in to get a kick out of anything anymore? They've got everything. Well, they've got everything that you're told is going to make you happy as a kind of a byproduct of being successful. But actually, their sense of self and their ability to navigate pressure, unrelentless pressure, never having a home life that works because work always comes first. There's all of these trade-offs. And I think, therefore, connecting people with source, making sure that they are clear on what makes them happy, practicing that on a daily basis, being in the moment, balance. Balance is the first thing to go when you're successful. Like, you talk about this all the time.
Balance? What's that?
What's balance? But actually, the ones that have, the leaders that have longevity, the ones that are truly happy by balancing the success with the things that make them happy, and hopefully there's some kind of overlap there, are the ones that maintain balance. And the balance comes from being very conscious about where your boundaries are, what you're prepared to do, and and we don't always get it right, but I think if you can teach people how to achieve balance, how to be very mindful and conscious of the things that make them happy on a daily basis. I mean, this is really simple stuff. Nothing that I do with anyone is rocket science. But, you'd be amazed at how many people don't even know when we start that conversation. Right, come on. When you're at your happiest.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because, when you ask people, who are you? Most people can't answer that question.
No.
Genuinely, who are you? I don't even think I could articulate that answer right now. If you asked me that question, I think that is such an interesting thing, because if you don't know who you are, how do you expect to achieve or do anything?
Well, you can't. And actually, that is also something that I do with all of my clients, is the who am I? And actually, and it can get on the
how do you define that? Sorry to interrupt you, but how, just for the listeners, how do you define
who am I?
Yeah, where do you even start with that question? It's such a big question.
We start with that question, and what's really wonderful, people often start with the title.
Yeah.
And then where we end up, we start with the title, and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a founder, or I'm a CEO of a bank, or whatever. The mask. And then where we end up, I'm X from X, Y, and Z, and I grew up here. It actually, it's almost like adulthood back to childhood, back to source of who you are. And actually, that's why I run that exercise with people, because it's really uncomfortable. Because also, like you were saying, I don't know if I could actually answer that question, but you just sit with it, and then more comes, and then another layer peels off. And actually, I'm this. I'm kind. We start to get down to values, and we get down to behaviours. I'm generous, or I'm a mum. You start off with the title, and then you get right back to source. And that's why I do it, because it's getting people back to being themselves and really connecting with themselves on a real basic level of who they are.
What are some of the practices that people can do to like help push that? Because I feel like we all know that we should meditate. We all know that we should get to know ourselves. We all get told how to do self-care and like all of these things, but actually no one actually does it right. Because there's so much misinformation.
No, you know what? It's really interesting. So I can tell you with absolute hand-on-heart confidence, the people that I work with, the kind of the big personalities, those that actually do this without exception, they won't compromise on those basic things. And I do this every day. I do not compromise on any of my 5 non-negotiables. One of them is taking my dog out for a walk. Start the day with meditation. The minute I deviate from that has a material impact on my physiology and how I feel about my relationship, honouring myself, so I feel like I've let myself down. And actually, that's a good place to be, because if you feel like you're letting yourself down as a basic principle that feels really uncomfortable, stops you doing it. And I think a lot of people, as people, we tend to be quite faddy. So, it's like everybody joins a gym in January. And then who's actually at the gym when it comes to March?
I know, and all of us that actually like the gym, like, for fuck's sake. Get off the cross trainer.
And it's really funny because also the people who are the most famous people, who are the most successful, live, breathe and sleep what they love every day. They have practiced since being a child. Look at a famous footballer. Take David Beckham. He's a brilliant example. He has played football every single day of his life for as long as he can remember. It's never stopped. His life is football. He's dedicated his life. He's one of the best players in the world. He's one of the most famous footballers in the world. Now, if anyone knew that that's what he did every single day, he hasn't done anything else. That's what you need to do to become that successful. So it is a single-mindedness. It's a level of focus it's humbling for most people, because let's be really clear, and you were talking about this recently. You wrote a brilliant post on LinkedIn, and it was all about, let me be really clear with you about the downsides of, what were you saying, 1 a.m. finishes, 5 a.m. starts. This is the reality of being a founder, and that's okay. But, be really clear, if you want to achieve anything brilliant in life, it's bloody hard work, and it takes a lot of dedication, and you get a lot of knockbacks. And this is why, you look at entrepreneurs that are really, really famous, that we love and we look up to and we really hold in high esteem. The shit that they've been through, the rejections, the knockbacks, the people that wouldn't lend them money, and there was the one person that did on a pinprick of an idea. And despite all of the obstacles, despite all of the adversity, they've navigated their way through that path because they've absolutely never been anything other than